my speech is on the effect industrialization has had on the earth since it began to the present. I'm going to begin with the question. Who knows when industrialization first began? It began in Britain in the mid-17th century and continued until the mid-18th century. Have any of you ridden in a boat, plane, train, or car? If it wasn't for the industrial revolution, these inventions would have never been created. Ever since I can remember, I've been fascinated with the earth and studying how it affects us, but also how we affect it. I also major in biology and have done field work to better understand the world we live in. The creation of industrialization has affected the earth in more ways than you can imagine. Today I will be presenting you with the inventions and series of events that have led to the various creations we know and love, but also the many consequences that came with them. Industrialization, although it began with Britain and the UK, it ended up affecting the entire world once it finally started. The first major invention would be the spinning jenny, created by JAHREE in 1767. The purpose of this invention was to spin wool or cotton into stacks of string that could be used to make clothes. Which was substantially more efficient than weaving or netting natural fabrics. These machines, however, created demand for more cotton, and these machines, however, created demand for more cotton than there already was. In doing so, another invention was created, the invention of the factory in 1769, which is this picture right here, which obviously, in fact, this was not a real factory, but this is a factory now. You can imagine then and now, it's pretty crazy to think about. With factories becoming more widespread throughout Europe, it prompted the deforestation of Europe's natural forests and depletion of its resources. In a blog published April 22nd, titled, quote, "The History of Deforestation, the Past and Origins," end quote. Quote, "Forests covered 80% of Western Europe 2,000 years ago. Today, only 30% of these forests remain, as Europeans colonized the New World from the 1600s to the 1870s. This mass reduction of environments not only occurred in Europe, but in every nation that participated in industrialization. These two inventions alone have urbanized countless nations and cultures, allowing the rest of the revolution of industrialization to, quote, westernize the world. Due to the extreme demand of factories and the workers needed to produce them, another invention was created, cotton gin. Created by Eli Whitney in 1793, this machine allowed for faster production of cotton and wool while providing more space than spinning jenny. This in turn created demand for even more workers and demand for more resources. Over time, these inventions spread throughout the world, creating other global superpowers. After Britain became a superpower in 1815, it spurred France and Germany to do the same in 1848. Then that spurred Japan and America in 1870 to desire what their enemies had. And finally, the rest of the world with Russia, India, and China in the early to mid-20th century industrializing. Another invention which took the European front by storm was the puddling furnace, created in 1784 by Henry Cort. It was the first mass-produced form of creating iron, which led to, you guessed it, a high demand for iron. This process not only decimated ore deposits throughout Europe, but it also created extremely unsafe work environments for the workers of the minefields and factories. In a book titled, quote, "The Sage Encyclopedia of World Poverty," end quote, published January 2015, there's a chapter by Professor R.P. Sohn, graduating from the University of Lucknow, titled, quote, "Industrial Revolution," end quote. He states the following, quote, "The establishment of factories and the rapid urbanization resulted in squalor and bad living conditions for workers, because of which different kinds of social crime emerged." He goes on to say, quote, "It is documented that even children as young as 4 years were put to work in factories. Many of them did not reach the age of 25, dying of pollution and other related causes," end quote. Even after seeing all the damage industrialization could cause to a people and its country, other nations still chomp at the bit to be like Britain and make their countries superpowers. In a research article by Professor F.D. Barrett at the United Nations University and Antique of Advanced Studios, Tokyo, Japan, published November 1st, 1999, he states, quote, "The Japanese rapidly adopted technologies and inventions from the West. Government-owned industrial plants were transferred largely to private families, Hashimoto, 1985. Oh, so excuse me, let me take quick break. This is the reason why I posted the second post. Children younger than 4 died because of pollutions due to factories like particulate matter, volatile organic compounds. You had respiratory issues. There's so many other pollutants. It wasn't just factories. It was water, soil. So yeah, that's that poster. In order to keep up with competitors of other nations, Japan and the US depleted natural resources regardless of the consequences. Having this global mass of production of natural resources results in what we see today. Our planet teetering on the brink of global ruin and possible annihilation. And although the human race has been doing better than its predecessors, there is still more almost irreversible work to be done. In a news article by Holly Carr on a site called Newsbank, published March 14, 2024, titled, quote, Weymouth Beach plagued by plastic menace, end quote. She states, quote, Brian believes that the number of nurdles washing onto Weymouth Beach could be in the millions, end quote. She continues to state, quote, nurdles are by definition microplastic, because they are less than 5 millimeters in size and are melted down and made into many plastic items, from clothes to cars, food wrappers to artificial Christmas trees. The biggest problem with microplastics are the chances of it contaminating soil. When this occurs, it affects all life, from worms in the soil to the vegetation to the fauna and finally to us. While technology is amazing, it also binds us to the resources it takes creating said technology. The many inventions of industrialization have impacted the human race in ways no one could have imagined, and vice versa. It did the same with our own planet. The effects of industrialization runs deep within our society. However, it is not too late for the human race, not yet at least. Technology, as I stated, can do many things. It can even create life, but it is more used to destroy than create, leaving our earth cracked and wounded. To explain this other poster, only 23% of plastic is recycled in the United States. That's just a little fact, which is crazy, because it should be at least 90%. Anyways, there are more facts on that, but anyways. If anybody was wondering where Weymouth Beach is, it is actually a town in England with a series of beaches. To my point, microplastics and plastics are in general everywhere, even in the farthest corners of our globe. That's how much plastic we've produced, 8.3 billion metric tons since plastic was created in 1950. In 74 years, the human race has created billions of plastic waste with minimalist ways of disposing of it. And that's my last, that was the end of my speech, but this is a light pollution chart. This is the late 1950s, there's barely any mid 1970s, there's a lot more in 1997, a lot more, 2025, East Coast,